The Michelin Le Mans Cup makes its annual visit to Austria and to the Styrian Mountains. The Red Bull Ring is a superb venue for all types of motorsport, Grade 1 circuit of course, and they've been racing here since certainly the 1960s. 4.3 miles, 4.3 kilometres rather, 2.6 miles and 10 turns. But the one thing, if you've a first visitor to this track, that strikes you is the gradient change. It is phenomenal. The climb up to turn 1 and then beyond all the way up to turn 2, and then the steady descent really, heading through famous corners at Lauda and the Jochen Rindt bend as well. We're here then for the Michelin Le Mans Cup, the fourth meeting of the year. My name's Johnny Palmer and I'm joined by the editor of dailysportscar.com, Graham Goodwin. How are we, Graham?
We're great. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good whatever you are in the world, because the sports car racing community, a global concern. And you'll have seen the sign flash up on track, wet track. It certainly was wet for the free practice session we've just been seeing for the European Le Mans Series before we came to the booth. It is, however, drying very rapidly. That could make this very quick-fire 15-minute qualifying session with the GT cars coming first a very interesting affair as the track dries out. Who is going to be on the right rubber at the right time in the right conditions here?
And you only get 15 minutes, of course, to qualify around this, as I say, relatively short circuit, just over 2.5 miles. Traffic's not going to be an issue with 6 cars in the GT3 category, but it certainly might later on for the second dose of qualifying. There are 20 cars listed in the LMP3 category, and the other thing we must mention during this session is that it's the bronze driver in your combination that has to do the qualifying. There is a new car though in the GT3 ranks, Graham.
There is. It's a 6-car effort in the GT ranks. We've got a couple of no-shows this time that we've seen for earlier rounds, but the Krypton Motorsport team from Italy here with their Mercedes AMG GT3. Fine-looking animal, matte black car, or dark grey car, and that is going to be the site that meets. There it is, the number 35 car, and that car will be taken out by Signor Pezzucci in the first time in this car. Glorious sounding machine, of course. The V8 engine, front engine car. There is Signor Pezzucci with the bright yellow helmet with the red band. AMG sun visor on it. Fellow Italian team, EB Motors. In fact, it's all Italian or Swiss, isn't it now? With the 6-car efforts. And this car, well, it's had a bit of a Marmite season so far, hasn't it? It's had its likes and dislikes. EB Motors Porsche. This is the setting in which we see ourselves just into the distance there before the mountains. You might just be able to pick out the control tower. The Zeltweg Airfield, still very much in use as a civilian airport and indeed as the main fighter airbase for the Austrian Air Force and site of the first Austrian Grand Prix before it moved to the original circuit on this park. Heavily revised in the hands now, of course, of Red Bull. That's the Red Bull Ring. Here's the 71 car. One of 4 Ferrari 488s we have here. It's the F Corsa car, and it will be Pier Giuseppe Perezzini aboard the number 71 car, orthopaedic surgeon of some note.
Yes, you mentioned, of course, the Österreich-Ring, which you can still trace parts of turns 1 and 2. They're still very much in existence. And this is a sort of squashed-down version. If you had to squeeze the Österreich-Ring into a square template, then you might come out with something like the Red Bull Ring. It's changed sponsor names through the course of the year, but everyone now knows it really as the Red Bull Ring. But it's great to have Zeltweg at the bottom of the valley, that old airfield circuit echoing the initial stages of the Austrian Grand Prix. The Mercedes actually sharing an awning this weekend with the EB Motors Porsche, but I've been down to the guys there. They say, no, it's nothing to do with us. It's just that we had a bit of space going, basically, underneath our shelter.
8,
and
7,
that's the reason why the Italian team are next door.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pit exit is green. Please remind drivers that track verges are still very wet. This includes the painted area at the runoff at T1.
Nigel Mansell, take note.
Advise drivers track verges are very wet, and this includes the painted area on the runoff of T1.
Yeah, it tipped it down with rain just after we arrived here this morning, Johnny, a couple of hours ago. And, well, you're getting lots of lighter grey. You can see the darker lines there where there's still some damp areas on the track. This is going to be full dry within this session, without a shadow of a doubt. So the times are going to come, I think, pretty quickly here.
By the way, if you're unfamiliar with Krypton Motorsport, they have form in things like the GT Italia Championship and have also run in the International GT Open as well. So GT3s they know well, and this is a Mercedes that I think has run in other championships. So they're bringing it across to try it out, and we hope that they fall in love with the Michelin Le Mans Cup very quickly indeed. So 6 cars doing battle. They're all out on track straight away, and we have the Kessel Racing Ferrari driven by Sergio Pianezzola. Graham's already mentioned that it is Stefano Pezzucchi, the Italian driver whose name is against the Krypton Motorsport Mercedes. That's car 35. We have Christoph Ulrich in the 51 Spirit of Race Ferrari. Pier Giuseppe Perezzini in the AF Corsa 488. That's number 71. Kessel Racing's Ferrari is Claudio Schiavone, and it's Baccani driving the 88 EB Motors Porsche, Alessandro Baccani. Ferrari's running nose to tail in the early stages. We'll see whether that's actually worth doing as far as a little bit of a tow that might be picked up. Only one headlight fully ablaze on the Mercedes as they turn right now at Rindt Corner. 51 slightly sluggish, but I think that's more a case of actually buying it some clean air. Well, the Mercedes had a big old wiggle there coming out of Red Bull Mobile Corner.
It's definitely a little wetter towards the end of the lap, but Krypton Motorsport very keen indeed to get a few opportunities to get some times on the board. And they will be the second ones, I think, to complete a lap. They've gone by most of the remaining part of the field. It's Kessel Racing number 8 car on the way up to turn 3.
And the number 8 car is the championship leader coming into this 4th meeting of the year, but actually 5th race, because we had 2 races during Le Mans week, the Road to Le Mans events, each of 55 minutes. Back to the usual 2-hour format, though, this time around, as Marco Ciocci watches on. So the Kessel Racing crew that top the championship by 11 points from the 51 Spirit of Race and the 71 AF Corsa, but there are many, many points still up for grabs in the remaining 3 races.
Yeah, Marco Ciocci, you can tell he's speaking even if you can't see his lips because his hands will be moving. He has consistently been in the top 4 or 5 of the most Italian man on the planet's competition.
Yes.
And don't see any chance of that changing anytime soon. So just 12 minutes to go with this 15-minute session, and cars beginning to get up to speed. You're right though, Johnny, there are certain areas, particularly where the track is under tree cover to one side, as it is there on the inside and then the outside, where it is not drying as quickly. But Krypton Motorsports, AMG pushing on. First car to complete a flying lap is Sergio Pianezzola, a 1:36.267. What can the Mercedes-Benz do? It's a 1:32.856, a 3.4 seconds to the good. Early stages here, though.
Good effort from Stefano Pezzucchi then, and it'll be his teammate Marco Zanutini to start the race later on. They could have chosen Zanutini to qualify the car because they're both bronze graded. Has to be a bronze to qualify, and there are 2 teams in this entry that basically had a choice to make, the other being the EB Motors Porsche. Could have been Paolo Venerossi, who is bronze, but they've decided to go with Baccani, who is now climbing the hill out of OMV corner, through the little kink, which is labelled as a corner number, turn 2, and then into Remus, which is uphill, off camber, and you've got to brake, try and slow the car. Thankfully, there's quite a bit of runoff there, because come the race, it does tend to go a little awry. I'm not wanting to preempt anything there, but we often, certainly on the first lap of an ELMS race, have 1 or 2 that push the track limits.
Baccani in the Porsche goes second, still 1.26 seconds away from that early attempt from Pezzucchi, who is going quicker, and a fair amount quicker as well on this particular lap. 10 minutes to go.
Into Rindt corner for Pianezzola, currently 3rd fastest, but this time looks pretty good. Round Red Bull Mobile and back across the grid hatching. So what can Sergio Pianezzola, the championship leader, he goes fastest, a 1:32.506 by 0.350 of a second, and slotting in, Krypton Motorsport to the top as well. So Pezzucchi in the new to the championship Mercedes, hobbling over the curbs there. So Pezzucchi wasting no time at all, pushing the very limit of that car, as it was almost the Ferrari, almost 4-wheel drifting through Lauda corner spectacular for the Kessel Racing number 8 car that was briefly fastest and then pushed down to second by the Krypton Motorsport Mercedes.
3 of the Ferraris have leapfrogged the effort from Baccani in the Porsche. So it's Mercedes-Benz from the 3 Ferraris, then the Porsche, with the EB Motors car having pitted after setting that 1:34.118. And late to the session is the number 77 Kessel Racing car in the hands of Claudio Schiavone. And he finally goes through 1:37.489 to prop up the times at the moment. But still 9 minutes to make a difference here.
Yep, so plenty of opportunities. Just a question of all about how much grip is out there. It shouldn't be getting worse because it's not raining currently. And theoretically that area underneath the trees then between Voestalpine and Rint Corner, the second to last right-hander, that whole area that is covered by trees is the slowest to drive, but it's mainly to drivers right actually, which is going to be a little tricky. And there's a dry line through Rint Corner as well, but if you do just drop a wheel slightly off the racing line, you could be in real strife as the Mercedes comes back across the line. So Pezuki to the top of the times again and had to find 0.7 of a second that time because Pianazzola in the meantime had found his way to pole. The 8 car and the 35 car are running around pretty much together. So the 8 car outdoes the Mercedes, and then Pezuki says, no, you don't, and snatches provisional pole back again.
Christoph Ullrich pits, and as he does so, he loses his 3rd position on the class grid to Pier Giuseppe Perezzini in the AF Corsa car. So 35 from 8 from 71, but there's a mighty gap between the top 2 and the remaining cars here. 2.3 seconds away from the Krypton Mercedes. The AMG car is Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, 1:30.185 the provisional pole time as we go past the halfway stage in this session. And indeed, the engine cover is off on the number 51 car, Christoph Ullrich.
But the AF Corsa Ferrari, number 71, there is only one of those cars in the race, although Spirit of Race is very AF Corsa-like just beneath the surface. That car's now negotiated Remus at turn 3 and Rauch turn 4, heading now towards the left-hander and clipping the curb there in the latest qualifying session for the Michelin Le Mans Cup. A little bit wayward on the exit there was Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, although he's up through both of the first 2 sectors on his personal best times. And the Krypton Motorsport Mercedes not quite done yet, goes even quicker that time through, a 1:30.365, but Pezuki already had the fastest time.
He did. He's now done the fastest pair of times, 1:30.1 and 1:30.3. But 2 purple sectors in that lap, Johnny, shows that there's potential for more still here. Could he get under the 1:30 mark as this track continues to dry? Still very warm out there, so we just watch Pier Giuseppe Perezzini have a bit of a wide and wild moment, but still within track limits there, I think.
Just, but that was more of a case of grabbing his attention. But there are concerns for Christoph Ullrich car. It's posted a time, a 1:42 was the in lap, a 1:32.666 is the time that's been posted though by the German. And Ullrich in the pit lane as we mentioned, team looking like they want to get the car back out again.
Yep.
As soon as they can. They can't switch drivers though because Ulrich's teammate, the Swiss I should say, not German, Christoph's teammate is Maurizio Mediani, who's a silver graded, so he's not permitted into qualifying.
I should say, by the way, a lot of Freitas disagrees with us both visually. That lap was deleted for Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. It was an improved time for him, quite considerable improvement as well. Schiavone improves again, having lost an earlier time again to track limits. So it's Krypton Motorsport at the top, 5 minutes and 20 seconds to go, 1:30.185, but that's bettered. He does get below 1:30. It's a 1:29.965 now, 9/10 of a second clear of Sergio Pianazzola in the number 8 Kessel Racing car. They're the 2 in the hunt for pole position at the moment. Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, full 2 seconds back still. He made an improvement. He's under 1:32, but he's got a way to go yet.
Very impressive though from the 47-year-old Italian Stefano Pizzucchi from Brescia in Italy, and has raced in the GT Italia for the last couple of years. Done some GT Open stuff as well, though, and started off in Porsches with EB Motors, funnily enough. So that may be where the connection between Krypton Motorsport and EB Motors first began back in 2011. Meanwhile, the Porsche that is run by EB Motors this weekend, number 88, heading now towards Lauda Curve with Alessandro Beccani. 5th fastest so far, but Alessandro has gone a little quicker through the middle sector on this lap. Don't think he's quite quick enough, though, through the first sector for this to be an improvement across the full 2.6 miles.
We've got plenty of drivers improving sector by sector here. The session may not be done yet. Might be that Krypton Motorsport are out of reach here for Sergio Pianezzola, but he's not stopped him trying. He's improving his time, but he's got almost a full second to find in the number 8 Kessel car. The EB Motors car, meanwhile, does make an improvement. It finds a full second, but that doesn't improve its position. Still 5th out of this 6-car GT grid. 3 minutes, 45 seconds to go.
Disappearing this time very quickly indeed. 7 laps completed by the fastest car, which is the number 35 Mercedes, and then there are 3 Ferraris nipping at its heels as far as the timing screen is concerned. But sad to say, the 51 looks like it's going to take no further action. Good enough for 4th place at the moment. They were working pretty hard on that car to try and get Christoph Ulrich back in the car, but he's going to run out of time in a moment or two to do an out lap and then start a fast one. The dark blue Kessel Racing Ferrari, number 77, currently the slowest of the 6, but Claudio Schiavone has a chance. And, well, I spoke too soon about Christoph Ulrich. He is on the move now, heading towards pit lane out. That's a very tricky pit lane out as well, with the right-hander, 90-degree right-hander, and Armco almost beckoning you in.
He's going to get 1 flying lap if he gets around quickly enough.
Yes.
He should get 1 flying lap. So the Krypton Motorsport car had put in another purple sector, but that lap is going to be disallowed. So it will be no improvement. There will be 1 more chance for the AMG man. Pianezzola is not going to improve on this lap. Perezzini is closing the gap to the pair ahead. Now under 1.5 seconds from the 2.3 that it was just a couple of laps ago. That's a mountain to climb. Beccani, meanwhile, does go ahead of Christoph Ulrich into 4th position in the order in the Porsche. Could there be a surprise there in the dying moments of this? He'll get potentially 2 more laps here, Johnny, in the Porsche.
Let's have a look what Stefano Pizzucchi is up to. He's gone absolute best through the first sector, but couldn't back that up through the other 2.
Lost
so 1:30.9. Oh, that was the lap was deleted. Okay.
He knew that lap was deleted anyway, so he will gather himself. Looks to me like... is he on it? That doesn't look to me to be a car at pace.
Yeah, so car 8 has also had its 8th lap deleted, which is the lap that was just completed by Sergio Pianezzola. I was rather concerned there that the Mercedes-AMG driver was going to have his best lap deleted, the 1:29.965, but that does still stand and is therefore good enough for provisional pole by nearly a second now from Pianezzola's time in the number 8 Ferrari.
And busy time at the moment in race control because Perezzini also gets the latest lap deleted. So it's not going to affect any fastest laps here. The moment on the move, potentially, is Beccani.
Mercedes is off the road, though, and a big wiggle there by Pizzucchi. An indication, perhaps, as to how hard he was pushing. And all of a sudden, the grip ran out into turn 6, the left-hander just before Lauda, and that really has now stopped the session, I would say, for the Mercedes. That will be end of play for Pizzucchi. Into the corner.
Oh, just got that totally wrong, didn't he?
Yes, far too wide. There's no grip out on the high side of that corner either. And the rear stepped away far too quickly for Stefano to mop that moment up. I wouldn't be surprised to see that Mercedes now heading for the pits because it will be full of gravel. But Stefano has different ideas. He says, I've still got 35 seconds on the clock. There is chance to go faster yet.
And he's going to go for it. Beccani, meanwhile, is a threat here. Goes through 3rd position now and 1.1 seconds back from the leaders. Has not improved on his fastest time in the first sector. Is he done? Because this will be the final flying lap for all of these cars unless they cross the line in the next few moments. The only man that's got potential to do that is Christoph Ulrich, who is about to cross the line any time now. So no major changes at all with the top 2. EB Motors, this car, the number 88 Porsche, as the checkered flag comes out, and Christoph Ulrich does make it across the line and will get 1 more go at this. So 1.5 seconds separate the top 5. And it's very close indeed between 3rd and 5th. Baccani, Perezzini and Ullrich.
Well, it's important for Christoph Ullrich to qualify maybe a little better than 5th position. This car's second in the championship, trailing the Kessel Racing number 8 car by just 11 points. Hasn't won a race yet, the 51, as opposed to the 8 car that won the opening 2 races of the year at Paul Ricard in the south of France and Monza in the north of Italy.
Baccani did improve and came very close indeed to taking 2nd position on the grid from Pianezzola. That's, what's that, 0.04 of a second, indeed, the gap between the number 8 Kessel Racing car, which does not improve on that lap. Baccani certainly consolidates his 3rd position. Perezzini is going quicker.
What about the Mercedes? Across the line, it goes fastest,
Wow.
a 1:29.730. Bear in mind, Stefano Pizzucchi had thrown it in the gravel on the previous lap. I really didn't think that car would be fully on song for the final circuit, Graham.
Clearly, the tactic there was make himself angry for the final lap. But you're right, 1:29.7, cracking effort from Pizzucchi. 1.1 seconds ahead of the 2nd and 3rd place cars. We're just waiting for Christoph Ullrich, who could improve on this lap. Don't think it'll make a massive difference. He doesn't. So it will be the Krypton Motorsport number 35 Mercedes-AMG GT3. In the hands of Pizzucchi, 1:29.730 is your GT pole time from the 1:30.887 from Sergio Pianezzola in the number 8 Kessel Racing Ferrari. Not quite enough in the bang from the EP Motors Porsche, Andrea Baccani, who came home third position in that session, 400th second back from the number 8 Ferrari. After that, AF Corsa 71 in the hands of Perezzini, Christoph Ullrich in the 51 Spirit of Race car, 5th, and Kessel Racing, Claudio Schiavone, poor session there, I'm afraid, and a little off the pace, 3.5 seconds off the pace. I wonder if they had a bit of a problem. Were late to the session and couldn't really seem to put that lap together. But that was 15 minutes with GT cars. Next up, though, Johnny Palmer, it's going to get a little bit busier out there.
Yes, and we will hear some reaction in a moment or two, hopefully, from Charlie George, who will be able to interview the fastest driver, new to the championship, but don't let that concern you, because clearly that Mercedes-AMG is very quickly up to speed indeed, and Stefano Pizzucchi, one of the last to come down the pit lane after a last gasp effort, already had pole in his grasp anyway, but has extended that now to 1.1 seconds as an advantage over everybody else, a 1:29.7 in the end for the Italian in the German car. And championship leaders going to have to start second on the grid from the EB Motors crew, the number 88 car, which is currently 5th in the championship. That might be an opportunity then to gather some more points and get closer to the top of the championship table. It's going to be all the bronze drivers to start the race later on. That's not what the regulations stipulate. You can choose to put a silver or a gold in from the start of the race, but everyone in GT3 putting a bronze graded driver in to kick things off. So 1:29.730 is pole position here at Red Bull Ring for the 5th race of the year, round 4 though, technically speaking. From Kessel Racing, 1.1 seconds, the Swiss squad and championship leaders. EB Motors Porsche, 3rd fastest from 3 more Ferraris. AF Corsa, the Spirit of Race example of Switzerland, and the other Kessel Racing machine, the dark blue 77 example, after difficulties, we suggest, for Claudio Schiavone. An opportunity here, Graham, to find out what sort of weather we're in store for the next 15 minutes or so. Looks like it's relatively consistent. I mean, it's gloomy. There's a little bit of low cloud above the Red Bull Ring, but I don't think it's threatening for the next 15 minutes.
Still glorious. What a wonderful setting for this fabulous, fabulous circuit. There is the Red Bull, a golf hole, the base of that Red Bull sculpture. And have a look on the Series YouTube channel. You'll see some fun and games that some of the drivers have been up to this weekend. But it is the most glorious setting for a racetrack. It really, really is. And we've had glorious sunshine until today. Hopefully, the wind will blow that away a bit.
So 15 minutes disappeared very quickly indeed for the GT3 drivers. Track temperature was being closely observed. We're certainly not struggling for ambient temperature this weekend. Yesterday it was up towards the top end of the 20 degrees, 26, 27, slightly cooler today. but the rain is the biggest threat. Let's get some reaction from Charlie George, though, in the pit lane.
Well, Stefano, welcome to the European Le Mans Series. What a way to start your season with us with a pole position.
Yes, great result. We had a very good car and very good job by the team. The car was perfect, and I have fun a lot in this session, and we will see later after the race.
You had quite a moment in the gravel there towards the end.
Yes, the track was a bit different than yesterday for the rain before, and the grip was not the maximum, but I tried to do the best, and in the last lap I improved a lot. Yes.
Very impressive. Well done.
Thank you.
Certainly was, and we all now know the name Stefano Fazuki, so congratulations to him and his teammate Marco Zanutini, who will start that Mercedes in the race later on today. And that's another quirk of the Michelin Le Mans Cup, that qualifying and the race are held on the same day, and you don't get an awful lot of time to change the car from qualifying settings to a 2-hour race, where there'll be 2 different drivers driving the car and a pit stop that has to be no quicker than 2 minutes 15 seconds this weekend, and you've got to do a driver change and potentially change wheels and tyres as well.
Well, the LMP3 cars, and there are no fewer than 20 of them for this Michelin Le Mans Cup 15-minute session out there. A couple of changes, and we'll go through those as the cars find their way out onto track amongst the order. But 20 cars there are, and driver names appearing against them on the timing screens now. This is the number 30 car, that's the CD Sports Norma, and that car will be in the hands of, who's in that car? It is Fabien Laverne in that car, the 65. That is one of 3 Graf Racing cars, all 3 of them Normas now. That's changed for this weekend. So the previous single Ligier has disappeared. A new look for the number 79 car and the Kyrgios Nielsen Racing team. 79 car will be in the hands of Colin Noble. Shares the car with Alistair McCaig.
Heading into this round, by the way, and there are 3 more races to go, each of 2 hours duration. It's the DKR engineering machine from Luxembourg on 63 points after tremendous performances from both Jens Pettersson and Leonard Hugenboom, winners of the first 2 races, but didn't go all their way during the Le Mans weekend. So, the championship started to develop a bit of a pattern, but then we saw wins for the number 11 car driven by Mikkel Jensen and Kay van Berlo in the first Le Mans race, and it was a win for Lannon Racing, Michael Benham and Duncan Tappy in the second race on the Saturday morning.
14 RLRM Sport car, and that's John Ferrano will be taking to the track in this one. My apologies, by the way, it must have been Alistair McCaig. He's the bronze driver in the Kyrgios car. The 23 car, beautiful aero paint job, or aero job on the United Autosports Entercar. Jim Maguire aboard that car. Sorry, that's not the aero car, is it? That's the Golf car, and that will be Richard Means, won't it, aboard the car?
Yes, it has to be, because Christian England is his co-driver and he's a silver.
There is the London Racing car, Mikey Benham. It will be aboard the Le Mans race winning car, and they were delighted with that result.
Well, that was an incredible race, which really did, follow quite a complex narrative. There was a big shunt on the opening lap into the second chicane way back in the GTs, but certain cars started quickly and then faded over the 55 minutes, and the Lannon car particularly no disrespect to Michael Benham, who became a spectator in the second half of the race and gave every credit to Duncan Tappy, but Mike had to get it into a position for it to be taken over, and for Duncan then just drive the wheels off the thing. And Michael and Duncan have been co-drivers now for several years, not in this category of racing, but stretching back to things like McLaren's in GT3.
GT Open, they raced the McLaren in the Road to Le Mans race a couple of years ago, steps into LMP3 this year. A nice shot there of the number 9 car from Cool Racing. That's the one of the Ligiers ahead of the Norma from Cool Racing, another multi-car team here. But a great Pro-Am performance actually from Lannon Racing. Graham Johnston, team principal, not here this weekend. The team with multiple commitments, but a happy band it is down at Lannon Racing at the moment. Rain lights must be turned on, says race control. Now that may be because we've actually still got some moisture on the track. It may be because they're aware that something else is coming in. Red lights go green, and the 15 minutes of qualifying for the Michelin Le Mans Cup LMP3 class starts now. The number 30 car first away, and a stream of LMP3 cars. Mixed bag now of Ligier's and Normas.
Eric and Adrien Trouillet managed the last pole position in the second Le Mans race then for the Saturday morning. Mikkel Jensen and Kay van Berlo not part of the regular championship. They revert to the European Le Mans Series this weekend. So are we going to get a new car in pole position? The 39's already been pole twice, and we've had a pole position for Lannon in Monza.
Quick look there at the book speed car, the number 4 car. On track now, and that I'm sure will be John Sharman at the wheel, and
It is.
great to see Rick Meyer, the Risi Competizione race engineer, helping the team this weekend. There's a bit of a stellar man on a pit wall for a Michelin Le Mans Cup team. I was very surprised to see him alongside ex-Williams engineer Doug Bebb. It's some technical team they've got down at the Eastleigh-based operation. All 20 cars have made it out. It is 11 Ligiers now, 9 Normas in this field, almost 50-50.
Yeah, so it didn't take too long to get the track full of LMP3 machines, and as Graham says, a combination of manufacturers. One of the first out, the DKR engineering car driven by Jens Pettersen. But the CD Sport car much further around the lap, and Fabien Leverne, new to the championship, coming out of Red Bull Mobile to see yet more green flags, confirming he can keep his foot down, and after an outlap, the Frenchman going on to a first flyer then in that multicoloured CD Sport Norma.
Still some damp patches around this circuit. They're going to have to just be a little bit careful about their line. But he's going to have a clear circuit in front of him, and the opportunity to have several cracks at this. It's been good racing in the Michelin Le Mans Cup thus far this season, and in particular in the LMP3 class, which has come alive in season for 2018.
But there is a little bit of a shake-up at CD Sport. We've seen a variety of different drivers joining Laurence Heur of Germany, who's been the constant as far as drivers are concerned. Anthony Ponce has been the co-driver and had Eric Debar in action at Monza, but this is Fabien Leverne who's having to do the qualifying. Say having to do, could Laurence have done it? No, because Laurence, the German driver, is a silver, so has to be the bronze, remember, doing the time on the Saturday lunchtime.
It's a good introduction for him so far. He is quickest in the first sector overall. And the second sector, as they start to stream through, is more than competitive there. 2 purple sectors thus far for the number 30 car, in the hands of Laverne.
The other car to look out for in the early stages, Alistair McCaig, the next on the road, which is the number 79 Ecurie-Cos Nielsen machine. So marker set down by Fabien Leverne. It's a 1:30.080. McCaig slots in behind 1.3 seconds slower. And John Farano, the next car to whip across the line for RLR M Sport, number 14.
So that's the marker, 1:30 almost dead, with a couple of experienced gentleman drivers in pretty close contention at this stage. Yet 1.3 seconds is a margin, but it's also a margin that gives them something to actually aim for. I think we're going to start to see some big improvements. Farano goes about that. As McCaig, I think, must have gone wide. He's lost a little bit of time on this lap.
And in fact, both those laps that have just been completed by Leverne and by McCaig are going to be deleted, I reckon.
So
lap 2 of 79 and 30. Yes, so that wasn't the out lap, was it? It was the next lap around, the quick ones.
It was the quick one, so Laverne is going to drop to the bottom of time and scoring.
Yes, hasn't done so quite yet, but does so now.
Jens Pettersen it is then that goes to the top of time and scoring. DKR Engineering, a 1:31.094 then is the mark. And it's Pettersen from Farano. He keeps that time, he's just 0.6 astray now. Jerry Krautz in the number 9 Cool Racing Norma, third fastest at the moment, just ahead of the sister car, the Ligier though, of Alexander Poigny. Laverne makes good this time around.
He's gone even quicker, I think.
He did, 1:28.430, and that is a very quick time at this stage of proceedings.
Well, let's see whether he keeps that one, because the 79 is going to have lap 3 deleted as well for abusing track limits at turn number 1. So Alistair McKaig's done 2 fast laps so far, and both he's had stripped from him. But there's plenty of time yet for at least a few more laps for the Kyrgios Nielsen machine. We're not yet into the final 5 minutes of this, or rather 10 minutes. We're just into the last 10 minutes of this session, just over 5 minutes gone. Read the right column, Johnny. As the number 3 car comes out of Wurst Alpine corner and down towards Rindt, the penultimate right-hander. And the championship leaders are going to cause certainly 1 or 2 concerns for everybody else this weekend, because they've been dominant at Ricard and Monza, and now we're back to the regular 2-hour race season. I wonder whether that Norma is stoppable this weekend.
The top 5 cars at the moment, timing and scoring all Normas. Leverne it is, with a 1:28.430. Jens Pettersson, though, has come pretty close, 0.23 seconds now back with his last effort. Then we've got the number 65 Graf car. That is third in the hands of Sergio Passia. That's their one of the Normas, the 65. The second Graf Norma, Adrian Chiller, is fourth, but Alistair McKaig recovers to third overall now. So he'll be kicking himself for losing the opportunity to just gather momentum while the cars there running very wide as it passes through shot. Tony Wells in the other Kyrgios. So Kyrgios now, briefly at least, third and fourth, but then have to cede that third position because Mikey Benham comes through in a 1:28.992, take third fastest on the road.
And yeah, the car coming out of Rindt, the right-hander, well over the
car.
Yep. Well over the sausage curbs there, and that will have created a massive vibration. 1:28.003 now for Fabien Laverne, who continues to find speed, and there are now Normas locking at top 3 positions.
And spin for the number 22 car. That's the United Autosports machine. That's in the hands of Jim Maguire. That is the aero car. And what happened here?
A bit too fast through the mid part of the corner, and then didn't have enough grip on the exit, for my money. I
think he was catching the car ahead more quickly than he thought he would be. I think maybe the car ahead lifted in that turn, and Jim looked to take avoiding action, and grip there was none.
Yeah, and maybe lifted off the throttle himself, and the rear obviously goes a little quicker than the front in that scenario, and it's so easy for the car to pirouette, but thankfully didn't hit anything solid there, and Jim will be able to continue and get going again in time for Fabien Laverne to come round back onto another lap. He didn't improve that time, although he did find the fastest sector of anybody else through the first sector.
But behind him things are getting very interesting. Jens Pettersson has closed the gap now to .224. The Kyrgios cars, Alistair McKaig and Tony Wells, go by Mikey Benham, who doesn't improve that time around. So it's less than a quarter of a second for the top 2. You've then got a further half a second, and then 3 cars separated by just hundredths of a second between them. Passien, meanwhile, leapfrogs the lot of them and goes to third. He's just a hundredth of a second back from Jens Pettersson and under a quarter of a second back from the pole-setting car. It looks to me as if Jens Pettersson is going to challenge for pole with the lap he's currently on. It's a purple sector in sector 2. He's coming down towards the line now. Can he take it? He doesn't by 0.018 of a second. Jens Pettersson stays second by 18 thousandths of a second.
Yeah, very, very close indeed, with Pettersson circulating behind one of the 3 Graf cars. The other 2 French machines, by the way, are together pretty much. And that is the 65 of Sergio Passia, the Brazilian, pursuing his teammate Eric Trouillet in the 39 car. So maybe the 39 is doing the 65 a bit of a favour. Passia up to third fastest, but it's so tight between, well, it was really tight between the top 2. It's still only half a second, but Fabien Laverne comes round for further improvement, down into the mid 1:27s now, Graham.
Absolutely, closing in on that top 3. Alistair McKaig makes a further improvement, 1:28.2 now. He's just a few hundredths of a second back from Passien. It's Laverne from Pettersson, Passien, McKaig, Wells and Benham. That's the top, the top 6. CD Sport, DKR Engineering, Graf, then the 2 Kyrgios Nielsen cars and Lannon Racing, still 3 Normas, then the 2 Kyrgios Ligiers and the Lannon Racing Norma. That is the top 6 with the last 5 minutes still to come.
out of Rauch corner. Fabien Laverne still on the ragged edge there. And the slow car is the Lannon machine, number 25, currently 6th fastest. Michael Benham has done enough in this session, you might argue, but he'd want some more laps ideally, because he's continuing to get quicker. But the car now is touring at Wurst Alpine and heading over that slight rise. It's okay at the moment, but when you go over that blind spot, there are white flags covering that car, but it gets a bit tetchy, I would imagine, for Michael Benham, who sensibly parked the car. It's not fully stopped yet, but well over to driver's right, so it's off the racing line. Fabien Laverne back across the line. Is there more improvement? Yes! 127.415. Laverne is almost taking the mickey here. 0.6 of a second now. He is clear of Jens Pettersson, the co-championship leader.
As McCaig goes to third position, an improved time from Alistair McCaig. He's into the 128.0s now. So 127.4 looks unbeatable at the moment for Laverne in the CD Sport number 30 car, but Ligier now in third, and there was smoke from the rear of the, or was that just brake dust? There was certainly dust coming up from the rear of Mikey Benham as he came over the curbs at turn 1 last time around, and that car has made the pit lane. So Laverne from Pettersson, now Alistair McCaig in the Écurie Cosnelson number 79 car, and he is just 400 of a second back from second position on the grid. It does not look to be improving on this lap. Is he just going to give those Michelin tyres a bit of a breather? Tony Wells, meanwhile, going quicker. This isn't done. Adrian Chiller gets into it now with the Graf car. McCaig does go second, and I think that's because, has the number 3 car just been docked a lap? I think it has. Jens Pettersson has lost a lap.
Yes, because Pettersson was closer to Laverne's time the last time I checked the screen. Pettersson now 0.8 of a second away from Fabien Laverne's time. So CD Sports Norma is faster than Écurie Cosnelson's Ligier, driven by Alistair McCaig. Then it's another Norma in the hands of Jens Pettersson, but he's just had a lap deleted in the DKR Engineering car, number 3. 2 Graf Normas come next, 65 and 40, and then it's Tony Wells in the other Écurie Cos Ligier. He is 6th fastest. That looks to be end of play for Michael Benham, who's managed to limp the Lannon Racing Norma back to the pit lane, and that car had done a 128.9.
Pettersson loses another place to Tony Wells' improved time. He goes up to third, so Écurie Cos now second and third in the order. They've got these Ligiers really nailed down, not nearly as nailed down, I'm afraid, as the CD Sports Norma. More than half a second to the good for the number 30 car. Jens Pettersson is pushing on this lap and could improve. It's not much at all between the, after the lead car. It is just under 0.2 of a second separate 4 cars from McCaig, Wells, Pettersson, Passien.
CD Sports' best result so far in the race is 6th place. That looks certainly beatable this weekend with Fabien Laverne on board. Cars streaming back across the line inside the final 2 minutes, and Adrian Schiller now going second fastest with a 128.031. Still though 0.6 of a second slower than Laverne's effort.
And that was courtesy of an excellent second sector from Adrian Schiller. Alistair McCaig quicker, just marginally than him last time around in sector 1. Could improve his time. Can he actually reclaim second position in the last 1.5 minutes of this session?
So the rear brakes smoking quite heavily from the Lannon Racing car, or is that something more suspect, do we think?
There was certainly smoke coming into turn 1. Has he got a braking problem, I wonder?
Well, that's more curable than anything iffy with the engine, you might say. And these 5-litre Nissan engines have proved to be rock solid over the last couple of years in LMP3, whether that be in the Michelin Le Mans Cup or the main ELMS Championship.
Laverne pits from what looks to me to be an unassailable pole position time now. We've said that before though, haven't we? Michelin Le Mans Cup, and someone's come out and grabbed it. Aren't you saying? Meanwhile, climbs up the order of the United Autosports car into the top 10. Adrian Schiller behind, could improve this time around. McCaig and Wells both still pushing, as is Jens Pettersson, as is Passien. Trullier now in the number 39 Graf car gets into the mix of all 3 Graf cars now in the top 7.
The 39 Graf car's had its 8th lap deleted, and the number 21 DB Autosport car a 9th lap taken away on the basis of pushing the track limits far too much. 10 seconds to go then, and Fabien Laverne is now still sitting in the car. I mean, there's no chance of him getting back out into the session, but probably on the radio to the rest of the CD Sport team. Laverne doing the job here. Laurence Her to come in the race, and Her, a very mean racer, the silver-graded German driver. There's certainly the chance this weekend to score, well, a top 5, which that team haven't managed all year.
So the number 30 car will not improve, sits in provisional pole position. Kuriakos's 79 car, Lester McCaig, crosses the line. Best of the Ligiers, as also across the line comes teammate Tony Wells. They, at the moment, 4th and 5th. Can anybody better their times in the closing moments? A man who's looking to try to better his time is Jens Pettersson. He's going quicker on his final qualifying lap in the number 3 car, currently sitting 3rd. Adrian Chiller looks like he will not improve, but still going quickly.
And half a second is Laverne's advantage. That's what they're resting on, with Adrian Schiller somewhere in the final sector, but probably about to back off as the checkered flag now is displayed to the slightly fewer than 20 cars now that circulate, but all started the session, which is good news. And I don't think the Lannon concern is a big one, as Pettersson leaves it really late. 54 thousandths of a second he got within that time to Laverne, but in the end Fabien Laverne, it looks like, is just about going to hold on to provisional pole position. Jens Pettersson in the DKR Engineering Norma at 127.469. As I say, that's 500ths of a second just shy of Laverne's effort.
We did say, didn't we? Or rather, I did say, didn't I, that I've been proved wrong right at the death. He nearly did it. That came in the first and a cracking 3rd sector from Jens Pettersson. His form has just come alive in this car this season. Jens has been around the endurance racing scene for quite some time in GT cars and small prototypes, but something about this team and this car has got Jens Pettersson fully lit in 2018, and it's a joy to behold. But it is indeed Fabien Laverne who brings home an excellent pole position, Johnny Palmer.
Many will say that Jens Pettersson and Leonard Hugenboom are with the right team. DKR Engineering are defending champions, remember, in the Michelin Le Mans Cup with their Norma M30. And Jens, 55 years old, from Germany, and has raced in the European Le Mans Series 2015, 2016, and it looks like I had a break during much of 17, but has come back still with an awful lot of pace, formerly of the World Endurance Championship, and there are a couple of Le Mans 24 hours in there as well. So an endurance expert, you would say, across 4-hour, 6-hour races and the full 24 as well. And Jens Pettersson, hopefully, we'll be able to hear from in a moment or two. Leonard Hugenboom, his teammate, and they've proved a stellar combination so far this year. 39 machine that did have one of its laps deleted works its way back into the pit lane. One of 3 Graf cars entered in the championship. That's the Eric and Adrien Treuillet car. The DKR Engineering machine coming down pit road just ahead of one of a couple of DB Autosport machines of France as well. Jacques Wolf and Nicolas Schatz, the French hill climb champion. That was Wolf doing the qualifying.
Great shot there, the 39 car, and you've got, for me, what is the wonderful oddness about LMP3, these dainty little cars with that rumbling V8 in the back. It's like a ballerina carrying a sledgehammer, isn't it, really?
That's a nice analogy. Yes, I suppose that's bang on, really. The cars are eminently nimble, but they make the ground beneath your feet rumble, especially when there are 20 of them circulating around the Styrian Valley. That will have echoed to many people that didn't even know there was a race meeting on this weekend at the Red Bull Ring.
Another cracker of a qualifying session there for the Michelin Le Mans Cup. It served up the independent qualifying ever since we had the introduction of LMP3 cars into this series, and continues to grow. We continue to hear news from the paddock about new and exciting plans from these and other teams. But that's the order, Johnny Palmer. Yeah,
so CD Sport, they have had a 5th place, I beg your pardon, at Ricard at the start of the year, but no better than that. They will start this race then from pole position. The number 30 car, and 54 thousandths of a second the margin in qualifying to DKR Engineering Championship leaders. 3rd fastest, the number 40 Graf crew. That's the car for Adrian Schiller and Marc-Antoine Danilou. And then fourth fastest and fifth fastest, Ikuria, Kost, Nielsen, Alistair McKagan and Tony Wells doing a good job to qualify fourth and fifth. Ahead of a couple of more Graf cars. Cool Racing were eighth fastest, United Autosports ninth quickest, and Lannon Racing, despite that mechanical gremlin for Michael Benham, creeping into the top 10. 11th fastest was John Ferrano in the RLR M Sport car from Alain Costa for N-Race. Eric de Donker, winner late last year in Portugal for Motorsport 98, and Jerry Kraut for Cool Racing in car number 9 was 14th fastest, ahead of the two DB Autosport Normas. The GTs will slot in at the back, of course. There's a little bit of overlap because of the GT3 fastest time being quicker than, for example, John Showerman's time for Brookspeed International, and I think quicker than Ross Warburton as well in car 59, the RLR M Sport car. Let's hear a little bit then from CD Sports and hopefully Fabien Leverne, who now joins Charlie George down in the pit lane.
Well, Fabien, congratulations, the first pole position of the season for CD Sports.
Yeah, very good feeling. I can push all the session long. I had no perfect lap, but it was enough for the pole position, so I'm very happy, and for the team. It's my team, and I'm very happy for them and for Lawrence also. I hope we can do a good race now.
Good luck, thank you.
Thank you.
So new to the championship, new to CD Sport as well, a team from Spain, and it's a German and French driving combination. I think they could do pretty well in the race.
I think he's slotted in quite nicely, hasn't he?
Yes, indeed. Well, that's the thing. I mean, we've had a brand new driver go pole in a team that has managed a fifth place already this year, but could go certainly a couple better to get on the podium this weekend in Red Bull Ring. We've got a brand new car in GT3, the Krypton Motorsport Mercedes, which instantly sticks it on pole position as well. So stories of new names and new teams this weekend at Red Bull Ring in the latest encounter in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. My thanks to Graham Goodwin of dailysportscar.com. Join Graham and myself, Johnny Palmer, for the race a little bit later on today. Bye for now. So the race later on today is a 4 p.m. start, and it goes through till 6 o'clock Central European summertime, that is. A 2-hour affair to take us into Saturday evening. It's Krypton Motorsport and CD Sport doing the business here in Austria.